The diner was buzzing with the usual lunchtime chaos. Forks clinked against plates, students laughed over inside jokes, and music hummed faintly from the jukebox in the corner. But in the middle of that noise, one sound cut through sharper than all the rest. The sharp yelp of a girl. Heads turned just in time to see a boy clutching a fistful of long dark hair, yanking it back with a cruel smirk on his face. The girl winced but didn't cry. She didn't beg, she didn't scream. Instead, her eyes, deep, steady, and burning with something most teenagers couldn't name, locked onto his. What happened next silenced the entire diner. With one swift, precise twist of her wrist, the girl snapped the boy's arm backward. The crack echoed like thunder. The smirk vanished, replaced by a howl of pain that sent chills through everyone watching. For a moment, the diner froze. No one chewed, no one spoke, no one even breathed. They just stared at the new girl, the girl everyone thought was quiet, fragile, and maybe even weak. But they had been wrong, dead wrong. Her name was Elena. She was 16, new to town, and carried secrets heavier than the backpack slung over her shoulder. Elena had moved here only 2 weeks earlier with her mother, who worked 2 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. They weren't rich, and they didn't fit in. Elena's clothes weren't designer, her accent carried traces of where she had grown up, and she didn't laugh easily like the other girls. She was quiet, watchful, always sitting alone at the back of the diner after school, finishing her assignments, while others crowded into booths with friends. But what nobody knew was this. Elena had spent most of her life training in martial arts. Not as a hobby, not for fun, for survival. Back in her old neighborhood, she had seen enough violence to know one thing clearly: if you don't stand up, if you don't fight back, you get crushed. Her late father, a soldier, had taught her the discipline and focus of combat. Her mother, who had survived struggles no child should ever have witnessed, taught her resilience. Together, those lessons shaped Elena into someone who could endure pain and fight back when pushed too far. But she had sworn to herself that in this new town, she would stay quiet. She didn't want trouble. She just wanted peace. She wanted a fresh start. Unfortunately, trouble had a way of finding her. 3 boys, local troublemakers who thought they owned the school and the diner, noticed her within days. The leader, Jason, thrived on humiliating others. He picked at weaknesses like a vulture. He saw Elena's silence not as strength but as weakness. So it started small. A shoulder bump in the hallway. A snide comment about her weird eyes. A shove when nobody was watching. Elena ignored it. She had promised herself to rise above. But ignoring bullies often only feeds them. Jason's smirks grew wider every time Elena stayed silent. Soon, his friends joined in. They called her names in the cafeteria. They knocked her books out of her hands in class. They whispered rumors that she was crazy because she never laughed at their jokes. Still, Elena didn't react. Her heart burned each time, but she swallowed it down. She told herself she could endure. Then came that afternoon in the diner. Jason spotted her at her usual table, quietly eating fries and scribbling in her notebook. His grin spread like poison. "Hey, new girl," he sneered, walking over. His friends followed, snickering. "What are you always writing? Love notes to yourself?" Elena didn't answer. She kept her eyes on the page, hoping they'd get bored and walk away. But Jason didn't walk away. Instead, he reached down and yanked her hair so hard her head snapped back. The diner erupted with laughter from a few tables that always cheered him on. That's when Elena snapped, not with anger, but with the calm focus of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Her hand shot up, gripping his wrist. With one fluid motion, she twisted. There was a loud pop, followed by Jason's scream. His body crumpled to the ground, clutching his broken arm. The diner fell silent. His friends stumbled back in shock. No one had ever stood up to Jason before, let alone left him writhing on the floor. Elena stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the tile. She didn't look around for approval. She didn't explain herself. She simply picked up her bag, slung it over her shoulder, and walked out of the diner. But in her chest, her heart pounded. Not from fear, from the weight of a truth she had hoped to leave behind. That violence was something she could never fully escape. The days that followed weren't easy. Jason's friends spread the story like wildfire. Some twisted it, saying Elena had gone psycho. Others whispered in awe about how quickly she had dismantled him. Teachers kept a closer eye on her. The principal called her mother in for a meeting, threatening suspension. Her mother's face had been pale with worry. "Elena," she whispered afterward, "we came here to start over. Why couldn't you just walk away?" Elena's voice broke as she answered, "Because I've walked away my whole life, Mama, and they never stop." Her mother didn't reply, but deep down she understood. She had lived that truth herself. What Elena didn't expect was what happened next. A few students who had always been too afraid to speak began sitting with her at lunch. One of them, a shy boy named Marcus, confessed quietly, "He used to pick on me too. I wish I could have done what you did." Elena shook her head. "You don't have to fight like me. Just don't let them take your voice." Slowly, a shift began at the school. Jason returned with his arm in a sling, his ego bruised worse than his body. But something had changed. People weren't afraid of him anymore. They saw him for what he was, a bully who had been stopped in his tracks by the very girl he thought was weak. Still, Elena's journey wasn't simple. She battled guilt for what she had done. She wrestled with fear that she might lose control again. And at night, she lay awake thinking about her father's lessons, about how strength was never about hurting people, but about protecting. One day, as she sat in the library, Marcus asked her, "Do you regret it?" Elena paused. "I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret standing up for myself." By the end of the semester, Elena had found her place, not as the quiet girl hiding at the back of the diner, but as someone others looked up to, not because she was perfect, but because she was unafraid to draw a line. And Jason, he learned something too. Power wasn't about fear. Fear crumbled the moment someone brave enough stood against it. The lesson lingered in every corner of the school, in every whispered story of what had happened in the diner that day. Sometimes silence is strength, but sometimes strength is saying, "Enough," and standing your ground. Final note for your YouTube video. If you were moved by Elena's story, let us know in the comments. Would you have stood up the same way, or walked away? Your thoughts matter, and your voice could inspire someone else who's struggling. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story to spread the message. This is Be Kind Always, reminding you that kindness doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it means standing tall, even when it's hard.